cancellations in the country, and we were speaking to Nicanor Sabula, who is the CEO of the Kenya Association of Travel Agents, who is joining us from our City Center studios. And welcome back, Sabula. And picking up from my question, really, the government sort of
world that feel free, come to Kenya. We are going through an election period, and this is just a process. This will end, and therefore, after that, our life moves on. So when we have this blanket ban for travel for civil servants, I think the message we are sending out there is that, wait a minute, we are not so sure. And government operations actually are on hold. And the result is that, government in any service sector is one of the biggest consumers of this service. So when government withdraws or limits travel, then it means that significantly they cut the business that the travel agents are doing here. We have had cases where many of my members had booked several government officials to travel, and they had to cancel. So some of this cancellation really we are seeing is as a result of the blanket ban that government has put on travel, other than essential travel. The other thing that you need to look at is that when you look at the industry generally, some of the biggest spenders on travel government departments will be Parliament. And to a larger extent, this is a group that also promotes, most of the domestic tourism that we see around. And therefore, this is affecting the business at large. And I think it's contributing to a larger extent to this drop that we are seeing. The other thing that we're looking at also is private sector is usually the second largest consumer of travel services. And most of the companies have also cut down on travel, and obviously many of them were anticipating a drop in business. And one of the areas that they will reach out very quickly to cut expenses on is travel. And many again, the other thing that we are seeing is that for us in the travel industry, this is usually a very high season because it's the last quarter of the year. So many corporates, many agencies are busy planning for the following year, and many of them, of course, will want to travel to do this. Remember that Nairobi literally is the economic hub for East and Central Africa. And so all the major international corporations that have their headquarters here have to travel and plan and meet. And many of them are holding back. They are saying, listen, the situation is uncertain. We don't know what is going to happen next. So they've put also travel on hold. So literally the industry is facing an uncertain future if the prolonged, electioneering period does not come to an end.
Mm-hmm. So what might this result to in terms of job cuts and downsizing of companies? Are we likely to see this in the near term, really? So what might this result to?
Obviously, no businessman wants to do business that they are making losses and that is unsustainable. So there is a likelihood for some agents to go of people, and then once we begin to recover again, recall them. You cannot be able to develop quality employment with that kind of a cycle.
All right. And finally, from you, Nicanor, what's in the horizon really for Kenya in terms of a global standpoint? What does the current political situation showcase for the international community? Will it really also dent our image on the global stage?
I think we choose to look at it differently. Remember, we have just come from an election, and an election actually that was annulled by the Supreme Court, which is a first one in Africa, if not again. I mean, a very rare occasion in the world. So I think the message that sends out to the international community is that we have matured as a democracy, and the process we are going through is just part of the strengthening of our democratic processes. And I think my appeal to any investor out there will be that Kenya presents a very good environment for investment, because we are a country whose institutions are working. And I believe that we'll be, once we go through this current state we are in, we should emerge as a very strong, destination for investors to consider to put in the investment, particularly in the tourism industry. However, let me also make a very special appeal to our political leaders, and particularly the two protagonist sides. It is possible for us to find a solution. I think we have done this in the past. We can do it again. Let's put Kenya at heart. Let's remember that even in disagreements, we can be able to carve a future that is prosperous for our country. We don't want our people to go through the suffering that they are going through now. Our hope is that we will emerge from this crisis a stronger and a better nation.
And I just want to get your parting shot on the exit of Dr. Roselyn Akombe as one of the commissioners. What's your take on this?
I think it's regrettable. Obviously, 7 days to an election and then you lose a key electoral commission officer is regrettable. And Dr. Akombe became the face of the IEBC that we saw, confident, and she was able to speak to the issues that affected, communicated to us very, very eloquently in terms of what was happening. But again, we must get to a place in this country, and this is my personal belief, that when you feel that your conscience is being pricked, that you are working in an environment that you can't do your best, my firm belief is that sometimes it calls for that big sacrifice to say, I cannot do this. I know we are in a country where people say that they would rather die than resign, but if you find that your working environment is untenable, I think that's an honorable thing, and I respect it for that. I just hope that out of this, then we'll be able to get the elections probably going, and this should not be in vain, in my opinion.
All right. Many thanks, Nikano Sabula, who is the CEO of the Kenya Association of Travel Agents, just sharing with us his views in regard to this particular developing story on how the travel industry has been affected, as well as what the exit of Dr. Roselyn Akombe means. He maintains that it was unfortunate and hopes that the IPC should be able to conduct the elections.